Today it's time to dive back into the Ys franchise. The niche action RPG series is a lot of fun and a ton of the games are on handhelds. My favorite of the series is as well. The 8th mainline entry that contains my favorite playable character of the series has released on the PlayStation Vita and Nintendo Switch in the past with varied results on performance. The Switch version unfortunately struggling to maintain 30 FPS. But let's dive into how the game can fare on Valve's handheld. Here is how I've gotten Ys VIII Lacrimosa of Dana to run on the original Steam Deck. For a brief summary, Lacrimosa is the 8th game of the Ys franchise. Taking place between 3 and 6, it has Adol running patrol detail on a ship that crashes onto an island. He has to help find survivors of the ship crash, all while having strange visions and dreams about a woman named Dana and her ties to the island he's crashed onto. It's a very fun game filled with a bunch of exploration, character swapping for enemy weaknesses, and is all around considered to objectively be the best game of the series. I personally loved it, especially when you start deep diving into Dana and the significance of the flashbacks and dreams Adol has of her. When it comes to running this game on the Steam Deck, you barely have to do anything. It's not hard at all to get this game to pretty much lock itself down at 60 FPS and stay there. No extra proton layers or anything is needed, just boot it up the normal way. The one weird thing that I found, it doesn't affect performance or anything, but when you go into the control setup, I found the button layout to be based on the PlayStation controller even when I didn't have a PS5 controller attached to the Steam Deck. But anyways, back to the setup. By default, this game will put Lacrimosa on the normal graphics settings, centered around the graphics of the console releases, and it should stay that way if you want 60 FPS. I tweaked and tested around with this, pushing the visuals up to the ultra settings while leaving ambient occlusion in the middle, and the game still plays well, but not at 60 FPS. On the high and ultra settings, in the early portions of the game's open world when you only have Adol to control, the frame rate consistently drops into the mid-50s and all the way down to the high 40s on a regular basis. Now sure, you could lock the Steam Deck down to 40 Hz and 40 FPS to maintain consistency here, but it honestly doesn't look that much better than normal settings, so I find that a little unnecessary. The settings I use are mostly the default ones, normal and medium settings all across the board. The only thing that I went and changed was in screen mode, which had defaulted itself on window. I changed that to borderless full screen, though to be honest, I can't say I've noticed that much of a difference there either. It's just what I normally like to use with PC games. With these settings, you're set for success. Cutscenes, camera pans, and gameplay all will stick to 60 FPS whether Adol is alone or you're using a full party of characters. I tested this with bosses, normal areas, and room with a bunch of enemies. I'd occasionally get a rare drop down to 58 FPS during combat, and some split-second drops when moving from a cutscene and back to gameplay, but all in all, it just stuck up at 60 FPS. And this is fantastic. While I loved playing through this game on the Vita and Switch, those handhelds didn't have a super consistent frame rate. Perhaps the Switch version will be at a perfect 30 FPS once the Nintendo Switch 2 comes out with backwards compatibility, but for right now, the Steam Deck is seemingly the only way to play it on the go and with a solid and smooth frame rate. That's all I have for performance, so let's move on to battery life, which is pretty decent. Lacrimosa will give the original Steam Deck a battery range of about 2.5 hours for a single charge. It's not fantastic, but not terrible either. Now, as we wrap this up, I would absolutely recommend this game to Steam Deck users. It looks great and plays almost flawlessly at 60 frames per second from start to finish. This is definitely the best way to currently play this game on the go, and if you're a fan of the series, you definitely need to play this one. And that's all I have for you today. I'll be back soon with more handheld PC performance and reviews. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.